How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good, how about you?
I'm outstanding. I'm ready to get started. Look, um, look, it's why we do what we do is to get into the season and get rolling and man, I'm excited about the team. I'm excited about where we're at as a team. Um, you know, we're finishing up with the physicals right now, so I can't give you a you know, a full list of who will or won't participate, but my anticipation is that we'll have everybody available to participate in some form or fashion for practice tomorrow. So I think that's a good start. So, but you know, there's obviously a few more things that have to happen from a medical standpoint before I can confirm that, but that would be my anticipation. So, you know, obviously, you know, we made the announcement that we signed Jimmy Graham and Trai Turner, both of which are good veteran players that I think can bring a lot to our football team, but both in terms of a veteran presence and the ability to still, you know, play at an acceptable and a high level. And so we felt like those were two guys that would be good additions for our football team. So, look, I know you guys got a ton of questions, so fire away.
This isn't the first time y'all have, I guess, talked to Jimmy Graham about a reunion, but how did it come about this time? Were y'all looking for another tight end, or did he approach?
Yeah, well, look, we're always looking for anybody that we think can help us be a better football team. And this was, you know, a subject that we broached a little bit even last season. But it kind of transpired throughout the course of the summer, you know, and really it was, you know, we wanted to make sure that Jimmy, you know, still had the desire to play, which he does. And then, you know, we brought him in yesterday for a workout. He looked great. He's in great shape. And, you know, he wants to be here. He wants to play for the Saints, and we felt like that was a good, you know, a good addition for that room. You know, we've got some young ascending players in that room in terms of, you know, Foster Moreau, Jawan Johnson. You know, Taysom obviously has his role. We've got you know, some young players that we feel good about and are looking to develop. And we felt like that Jimmy was kind of the perfect fit for that room.
Would you have added a veteran tight end no matter what, or because you've talked about 2 years, it was specifically that?
Well, I think this is the one that we kind of had in mind, you know, to add to that room. So, would we have added? It's kind of a hypothetical question, but we certainly felt like Jimmy was a guy that you know, fit our culture and fit what we were looking for in that room.
Yeah, that's what you like about Trai Turner.
Well, look, we've played against him a lot. You know, he's a big physical, you know, offensive guard. I think that's probably the number one quality that you see in him is just the physicality that he plays with. And you know, we've had some good battles against him in the past, and feel like he's a good fit for what we want to be able to do offensively.
Were you looking to add competition in the interior?
Again, I mean, yeah, it sounds like a broken record. I mean, yeah, we're always looking to add anything that we think that we can add to our football team that's going to help us be better. We're certainly looking to add that. And the word that you used is a great word, and it's there's going to be a lot of it throughout this training camp is competition, and we feel like, you know, having a lot of competition within the team kind of brings out the best in everybody. And so, you know, depth, competition, those are all things that we're looking for.
I'm sure the timing might be coincidence, but you see a signing like that, and obviously it's a natural question. Do you feel good about where Cesar Ruiz, Andres Pete are and their health development? It's not related to having a...
No, this is not a health related, you know, signing. This is a signing where we felt like there's a veteran player that we can bring in, put into the mix, and then let's see how the competition plays out.
And then, I can't remember if we asked you about this on the last day of minicamp or not, but we saw James Hurst and Andrews Peak kind of switching days at left guard, left tackle. Where does James Hurst fit in this? Is he competing for both jobs, since you have Trevor Penning, Andrews Peak, more guys to choose from?
Well, look, I mean, so the thing about one of the great qualities about James Hurst is that we do feel like he's a starting caliber player at both guard and tackle. And look, Andrus has played guard and he's played tackle at times for us. So having the versatility, having the depth, having the competition, I think is all good. So you're going to see throughout training camp guys, lining up in some different positions and doing some different things, and ultimately we'll let that competition play out, and then we'll make the best decision for our football team when it comes to the end of training camp.
Dennis, with both of those guys, with Trai and Jimmy Graham, was signing them maybe a little easier because of their New Orleans connections? Did you feel like they wanted to be in New Orleans because of their history with New Orleans?
Look, I definitely think that both players, wanted to be a part of this organization, be a part of this football team. I don't think there's any question about that. So, I don't know that was, obviously that was a huge factor in signing, Jimmy Graham. I think this was the one place that Jimmy would be interested in returning to and continuing to play. And then certainly the locale was appealing to Trai, but I don't think that was the deciding factor as to why we made the decisions that we made. But it probably influenced or had a part in it.
DA, you said everyone should be able to participate in some form at the beginning of camp. Do you know what form that will be for Mike?
Yeah, our expectation is that Mike's going to be a full participant. Look, he came in last Thursday, did his physical, went through the conditioning test, looked great, moved around awesome. He's in good shape. And so, our expectation is that Mike will be a full participant. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's what Mike said he was going to do when he left out of here in the spring. And generally, when Mike sets his mind to something, he gets it done.
Dennis, what are your expectations with Alvin Kamara now that that's been resolved?
Well, look, I mean, in terms of,
Will he be expected to be suspended?
it's hard for me to say. I don't know that, and I'm not going to get into, what could or couldn't happen. We're really basically, we're expecting to have Alvin this year. Alvin's going to be a big part of what we do, and we're going to practice that way accordingly. And we haven't heard anything from the league at all, so it's really kind of something that's out of our control. And so we're really not going to focus on that. We're just going to focus on getting better as a football team, and Alvin's going to be a big part of that.
Dennis, for you personally, is there any lessons that you take from last year that you're carrying over into this specific training camp, whether it's just how training camp went last year from a scheduling standpoint, how the season went, and getting guys ready to be there week one?
Well, look, I think each and every year you're evaluating what you did the previous season, and trying to determine what are the things that we did well, what are the things that we can improve on, and you take those lessons and you apply them to what we're doing this coming season. I won't get into specifics, but yeah, I think all of us look at and say what we did last year wasn't good enough. And so we have to be better, and that's our mindset moving forward.
Dennis, what do you enjoy the most this time of year with training camp?
Being around the guys, being around the group of coaches, being around the players. I mean, this is really where you build the core of your team, and just developing that bond and that brotherhood with the group, because this is a tough competitive business that we're in, and for us to be successful, we all have to be pulling the rope in the same direction, and so just building those relationships with the players, with the coaches, that's the fun part of training camp.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about Zach Stewart and how you see him helping out the staff?
Yeah, so you know, Zach's gonna be in charge of basically analytics. You know, and I've kind of put him on a few projects already and have gotten some results back that I think, you know, we'll be able to utilize that aspect of, you know, analytics to help in decision-making and also help in teaching players the importance of, call it turnover takeaway ratio, call it field position battle, penalties. There's a lot of things that we can glean from that, and so yeah, I think the initial reports I've gotten back from him have been helpful for me in terms of how I want to communicate with the team.
Is that kind of a point of emphasis for you to kind of just change up maybe how you guys do some of this?
Well, I think yes. If the question is, are we going to be an analytics-based decision-making team? No. We're going to utilize that information to help in the decision-making process, but we're not going to be driven by that.
What drew you to him specifically? It seems like a fairly rapid rise for him in that.
Well, look, we went through the interview process with him. The first thing that you can tell just in visiting with him is that he's highly intelligent. And yet he's able to communicate with me in terms of a PE major prospect, you know, like I don't deal with all those numbers and statistics on a page as well as others, so he can communicate that to me in a you know, pretty easy to understand format. But yeah, I thought he was a good fit from a personality standpoint, and you can, like when you visit with him, you can tell that, you know, he's confident in his abilities.
And the size, I know you had a person to replace in that department. The size and the scope of that department will probably be similar to what it was last year, like the amount of people, the amount of...
Yeah, I think that still remains to be seen. You know, there was a few guys that we talked to in that area. I don't know that we're done in that area. You know, we'll kind of take that as it goes.
Yeah, but y'all are probably overdue for better luck with injuries this year, but regardless of how that plays out, how do you feel about the depth and the overall roster enabling you to withstand whoever you lose?
Yeah, look, day one of training camp, I feel good about it. You know, I think we've added some pieces through free agency, through the draft. You know, even you know, as late as today, we've added some pieces that I think give us some pretty good depth on our roster, and I think that's important. You know, this league's a league of attrition. You know, and the teams that are, everybody deals with injuries, and it's the teams that are able to, you know, withstand that and survive those injury issues. And then obviously the key is not just the number of injuries, but who are those players that are getting injured? You know, that makes a big difference too. So.
Last year, the analytics say, okay, I'm going to preface it by saying, the analytics say that you guys are one of the least aggressive on fourth down. Did you look at that? Did you pay any attention to that? Will that influence the way you decide things in a game?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to the outside analytics, you know, in terms of what other people say, you know, we should or shouldn't do. But yeah, I think there's an analytic approach to why you do certain things, and then there's a lot of other aspects. Analytics don't take into account anything other than this is just what the numbers would say. They don't take into account what have we been really good at, what are we deficient at. They don't take into account who are we playing. They don't take into account necessarily always the situation in the game. So I think those are all external factors that go into decision making. So in a vacuum, yeah, you look at analytics and you say this is what you should do. But I think there's some other areas that you have to look at.
As a follow-up, now that you have Carr, you have a guy who's, you know, an accomplished NFL quarterback. Would that change how your
Well, so I would say this, I'd say we're gonna go into every game doing whatever we have to do to win. Sometimes that might be, we've got to throw it every down and score 50 points. Sometimes that might be, we got to shut somebody out to be able to win that game. I don't care. I'm not into the statistics of it. But yeah, I think, certainly the addition of Derek Carr, gives you some comfort and some confidence in, being aggressive in certain situations. Yeah, I think that plays a factor in it.
Do you expect Marcus May at practice tomorrow with his court date going on today?
I do.
Derek, Dennis, did you see anything out of Derek Carr, OTAs, mini camp, different quarterback than when he was with you in Oklahoma?
Yeah, look, I had him, as a rookie. So, he's had a lot of games under his belt since then. So obviously, his confidence level is at a totally different level than where he was as a rookie, which is, not uncommon and to be expected. But, I felt like throughout the spring, I saw, a quarterback that had command of the offense, and felt confident in what he was doing. And I felt like he got better from day one of the, OTA period through the last day of minicamp. So, I'm looking forward to, getting out here and going to work and, letting him, run the team.
Dennis, what could you have hoped to have seen from Trevor Penning up to this point, this offseason? The stops and starts he had, and obviously not being able to be on the practice field, and where do you like where he's at now?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, obviously he's worked his tail off this offseason to get himself healthy, and that's where he's at right now. So there's certainly a significant portion, of time loss, and we don't get a chance to get those reps back. But I like where he's at right now. And look, the thing that he needs to get out there on the practice field and get reps. And so that'll be a process that we'll go throughout training camp. So, but, look, you certainly you wish he hadn't missed that time, but that is what it is. And now it's his time to get out there and get some reps and get better.
I know you guys are used to it being really hot, but with the extreme temperatures, does that factor into like how you put together the schedule and
Yeah.
stuff outside?
Yeah, it'll play a factor. It won't be, we're still gonna practice outside. There may be some times that we have to, start inside or go out or, I'm sure we'll be utilizing the cooling trailer, pretty significantly, but yeah, it's a factor. We gotta take that into consideration. I was talking to the coaches yesterday and, we were talking about that, and there's an element to being here in New Orleans, having to deal with the heat, having to deal with the humidity, having to mentally push yourself through that and eliminate that distraction and focus on the task at hand. So that's part of developing a tough, both physically and mentally tough football team. And so there's part of that I like, getting out in the heat and having to deal with that. But then there's also the health risk involved in that. And so it's a delicate balance that you're trying to deal with.
I'm not sure
What do
we,
you need to see from Peyton Turner this training camp?
Well, look, I mean, I just think we need to see him, number one, be available. And number two, just continue to improve every day. I thought, it was good to have him out there for a full off season. And I thought he improved throughout OTAs and training camp. I'm looking for more development out of him this year. I'm not focused on the end result. I'm focused on the process. And I just want to see him be available, and then continue to get better day in and day out.
Quick follow on Trai Turner. So some productive veterans do bounce around late in their careers. But do you have a sense of, I guess this would be his 15 in 5 years. What's your sense of why that might be?
You'd have to ask the other 4 teams, I just know, look, he's a tough, physical player that's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's played a lot of football. Looked really good and in shape yesterday in the workout, and feel like he's a good addition for our team.
I know in some years with your specialists, it's kind of formality, you know who's the punter, who's the kicker and such. It seems like this year you have more significant competition. How hard is it to evaluate? Is it just practice, is it preseason, knowing they may have limited opportunities? What do you know about guys that have been here versus kind of the unknown?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't say that that's unique to, it's unique in that, well, we usually bring, 4 specialists to camp. We've got 5 specialists in camp right now, so we're kind of one heavy at the specialist position. I do think there's some legitimate competition at specialist, but it's no different than any other position that we have where we have a lot of competition. And so I think it's been by design. We've tried to create as much competition within our football team as we can, because I think competition brings out the best in everybody. Look, there's a lot of practices and there's a lot of game time to go before we have to make any sort of decision. So I think we'll just evaluate those guys day in and day out. I think the plan is really kind of, would be alternating days in terms of, who's up, kicking, punting, whatever the case may be. And we'll go through the evaluation process, but it's good competition. And I think that's exciting for me as a football coach, to have that much competition. It means you got some good players. And really, I think, you get a chance to really find out about the guys that are here in camp and find out, because look, we're gonna get into some difficult situations during the season, and I want to know who's gonna rise to the occasion when we face those difficult situations. Who's willing to step up and compete? Who's willing to make the play when it's time to make the play? And so if we have that competition during practice, I think we got a better chance to having the result that we're looking for during games.
Besides special teams, what position battles excite you and intrigue you?
All of them. All of them. You guys probably get more intrigued by certain positions than I do. All the positions are important, and I think we got battles really at every position. And so I'm intrigued to watch all of them.
What are you looking for from the outside corner battle with Paulson, Diva, and
Yeah, I think somebody's got to step up and win the job. And so I'm excited about watching those guys compete. I think we've got several guys, talk about that position specifically. I think we got several guys that have the ability to be starting corners in the National Football League. And so, I think, I'm intrigued by that position as well as a lot of others.
Time for one more question.
Have you done anything different in your approach to training camp, mini camp, off-season after, a year on the job? Is there anything notable that?
Everybody's looking for some specific, like, hey, what are you going to do to be better? Like a lot of different things. We looked at a ton of, injury data, and so we've kind of changed, the practice, not the individual practice schedule up, but just days in which we practice, how many days in a row do we go, some of those things, so we've looked at a lot of different things and tried to make the best decisions that we can, that I think are going to help our football team and give us the best chance to have success. So.
And 2 joint practices, was that by design, get as many of those as you can, or it just happened to work out with those teams?
I think probably a combination of both. I mean, obviously, I like the joint practices, and feel like those are really kind of an important part of training camp, getting an opportunity to go against somebody else, see some different looks. So the LA thing was really by design. I think we kind of fell into a little bit of the Houston deal, and you know, it worked out. And so, yeah, I'm excited about having the opportunity to work against a couple of different teams. So we're going to get a lot of different looks throughout preseason. All right, thanks, guys.